Hello and welcome to the program review overview video for the web programming and design degree here at Rock Valley College. I will be the narrator for this particular video, Eric Wolf, one of the full-time faculty in our web programming and design department. Our program objectives for the web design degree, students will be prepared for a career in website programming and support. This really is separated into two different fields. The first is front-end development, and that involves everything that the user sees when interacting with the web. So this is going to mean developing what sites like rockvalleycollege.edu look like, how they act on a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile phone. There is also a separate fork called back-end development, and this involves all of the programming processes that make data collection and other aspects of the web work. So if you think about things like the rockvalleycollege.edu website being able to report what courses are available for the upcoming semester. Well, what does upcoming mean? That's all based on what time it is that you are looking at those web pages. A back-end developer is able to do the programming processes that make that kind of data representation possible. Students will not only be able to design web pages, but they will apply any and all technical specifications that bring them to life. Web programming and design offers courses that can be successfully transferred to baccalaureate institutions. This is going to be important for some of our students that pursue our certificate and our degree programmings, because for those back-end developers, that is going to require additional coursework. Indicator 1, need. Right now, there are between 1,500 and 4,400 web designer jobs in Illinois. Really, this is very probably on the low side. The pandemic has given us an answer to an ages-old philosophical question. If a website does not exist, does your company in fact exist? And the answer to that is no. If users cannot find your property on the web, they are not going to venture out to your property in the real world. So the pandemic has reinvigorated the idea of web design and web development, and these are growing faster, we think anecdotally, than the numbers are indicating. Across the United States, there are 199,400 web developer jobs, and the average salary is $77,200 per year. And approximately 17,000 jobs in web design open every year. That is a fairly rapid increase, and many of those are going unfilled because there just hasn't been the pipeline for web design and web development students, because that had been lagging in recent years. And again, that has been upturned by the pandemic. Currently, so the last good data we have is around 2020. The market for web developers is growing at 13% every year, and over rather the next decade, which is faster than the average. But again, we think that the pandemic has demonstrated a greater need, and we will expect to see that 13% is a little bit on the conservative side. Nationwide, there are 634,720 job openings for web designers. The pandemic has also helped our students with the opening up of these remote nationwide jobs. In the past, it was difficult to find these, and now students are enjoying the competition that comes with remote work. So this is something that we think is going to be a tremendous opportunity for students. There are many openings and there are not many web developers and web designers. That works in our graduates' favor. So over the next 10 years, beginning 2018, the, again, 13% growth rate and the additional 20,900 jobs across the United States, we expect that to turn out to be a conservative number moving forward. Indicator 2, cost effectiveness. So the costs for the web program are comparable to other CTE programs across campus. All of our courses carry a $25 per credit hour fee that covers the lab, any and all of our specialized software. Things like the Adobe Creative Suite are included in this, and other expenditures for our classrooms. Our introductory level programming courses are offered each semester, so summer, fall, and spring. That Web 101 programming related to the internet course is an elective for many of the degrees and certifications that we have here on campus. It is offered all the time so that irrespective of when a student joins us for the pipeline, so spring, for instance, that would oftentimes be too late to be able to get some of our introductory level programs, the students are actually able to get that first programming language. So as far as cost effectiveness for the students, they are not here spinning their wheels waiting on these courses to come back around. They are offered around the calendar. If students do join the pipeline at the usual fall semester, they can complete 12 credits right there in their first semester and be well on their way to completing their web design or web development degrees. Indicator 3, quality. All of our courses are offered across all of our learning modalities to accommodate working adults and to also accommodate our traditional pipeline students. So that means hybrid, online, and traditional courses so that we can cast the widest net when it comes to learning modalities for our students. Our content is contextualized by integrating hands-on and active learning into every one of our classes. In our web, just as our CIS degrees, we rely less heavily on testing and more heavily on computer-based and project-based learning. Here in fall of 22, we are going to be transitioning our students to a student-hosted online exclusive platform for their portfolio, so that when students are done with our programs, they will have an online portfolio, they will have a URL all of their own that they can use to demonstrate to potential future employers what they've learned in their time with us at Rock Valley College. This is actually an improvement over what we do presently, which is hosted by the college. And we do try to keep those portfolios for as many as 3 years. It's just that sometimes students have timed out of that 3 years and have wanted those portfolios back. So transitioning to a student-hosted online portfolio is going to re-empower those students to use those portfolios at a schedule that makes more sense for them. Continuing on with Indicator 3 quality, our secondary to post-secondary relationships with high schools and districts for dual and articulated courses means we are strengthening our pipeline for web students. We have Meridian School District, Harlem School District, and Belvedere North, and we are further developing our relationship by offering Web 101, that's our introductory web course, here in the high schools. This is going to help us broaden that pipeline for new web students. We also, in CIS and Web, have a 2+2 agreement with Rockford University to transfer credits from our CIS and our Web programs. This is going to give students an opportunity to continue their learning and to really maximize those credits that transfer, the Rockford University transfer agreement, really is exceptionally generous when it comes to our students being able to transfer at full capacity those credits to another institution. Finally, here in Indicator 3, materials are continuously updated so students have up-to-the-minute hardware, software, and platforms to be better prepared post-graduation. One thing we really enjoy having is a new M1 iMac lab for web development students. This is really helping with shortening development time. This is really helping with accurate screens so that our students can develop, a color, a size, etc. on a web page that they're developing. That's going to be the way that an unknown potential future client is going to be able to see that same web resource. That's simply not something that we could say is possible in a non-Mac lab with not very highly calibrated or, frankly, capable monitors. So this is something our students really do enjoy seeing. Internally for web, about 85% of our students pass our classes, and that was before the pandemic. We've really seen a drop here is not just in web, it is across campus. And presently, we are seeing a 75% success rate during the pandemic as far as our DFWI percentages go. This is still pretty good for a CTE platform. This is, a science. This is a coding language or a wide host of coding languages. And 75% really does represent a high through rate for students at this level. Moving to Indicator 4, Performance and Equity, student demographic success and enrollment data was reviewed as part of the program and occupation overviews. We used the 2-county and 10-county regions as well as national data when we were looking at the numbers that we were using for performance and equity. We mentioned in the CLNA there is an industry representative gap in the percentage of female and minority student populations represented in STEM, and that translates here to those represented at Rock Valley College. This is something we hope to address with further recruiting, and we know that we have an opportunity to work with the newly created Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Department here at Rock Valley so that we can try to broaden the pipeline when it comes to female and minority students in our web degrees. As far as male enrollment, the population we have is relatively representative of the Rockford area, 45% of our enrollees being racially diverse, which is a little bit higher than the Rock Valley College average. But as is true in all of our STEM fields, the female population is lower than what we would expect to see, vis-a-vis the Rock Valley or the Rockford area representation for females. It's just lower. This is indicative of STEM, and it's something that we are actively trying to address with our web and CIS programs. About 33% of our students are female. Like we mentioned before, that is lower than the base rate in the Rockford area. On the positive side, students are a little bit more than 10% more likely to be of racially diverse backgrounds. We have 44% for CIS and web, and 31% for Rock Valley College as a whole. 57% of our CIS and 57% of our web students are first-generation college students. What that indicates to us is that there are somewhat less of those external supports for college than we would, maybe see for other populations. So that's something that we try to address in some of our outreach efforts that we have been doing as a web department. We have clubs like Girls Who Code, the State Line Women in Tech Initiative, the RVC Hour of Code, the Tech Bus. Those are aimed at casting as wide a net as possible and hoping to address those inclusion efforts. We also maintain several online channels for students. We have an rvccis.info site, that is its web address. We have an rvccis.info YouTube channel, a Facebook account, a Twitter. Those see active posts anywhere. The low is 2 posts per week. The high has a tendency to be in the 15 to 20 posts per week, and those are seen by a much wider swatch of our population than otherwise we could get just in our classrooms alone. We also maintain a Rock Valley College Girls Who Code website so that we can use that to help advertise our programs. Entering back into the positive realm with strengths, students really do use industry standard online and offline tools to be best prepared for those industries that they are entering. The web program uses a wide array of industry standard tools for software development. So we use things like Brackets and Atom and Visual Studio Community and Visual Studio Code. And those are things that they are going to see in production environments. We use hardware that meets or exceeds industry standards. We had mentioned in the strengths section that we have a newly reinvigorated Mac lab. That is something that is absolutely going to be better than most production environments here are going to see. So students really get a fantastic hands-on experience with our courses, with project-based learning, and with those newly retooled online portfolios. Those are things that students can absolutely take to employers and say, here is tangible proof of what we have been able to create, and demonstrate that for a potential future employer. We have increased transfer opportunities for students pursuing a 4-year degree. The relationship we have with Rockford University simply did not exist. Frankly, before the pandemic, it was really inopportune timing, and that's something that we are hoping we're going to see some available traction with coming up here in future semesters. And I will brag here again about our adjuncts. They are subject matter experts, and they give students a real-world learning environment with really fantastic networking opportunities. Our adjuncts go above and beyond to try and take those things that the students are learning from the textbook and add to it the context from the real world. I know that every instructor says that. I know that every department says that, and I'm positive that it is true. I just feel it is more true with our web and CIS and instructors. They are doing a fantastic opportunity, or a job rather, in expanding those opportunities that our students have to network and to see how these concepts that they learn in the classroom are applied in industry. It's really fantastic. Moving on to opportunities, we find an opportunity to continuously expand our portfolio of social media outreach. Our YouTube, our Twitter, and our Facebook platforms are expanding. We are formalizing more ways to deliver more content. We are formalizing ways to do some targeted advertisement via Twitter and Facebook. So we are hoping that we can really broaden the net that we cast with those social media outreach venues. Again, I would like to brag about the outstanding support that we get from advising and retention via the Career Services Department. This has absolutely led to tangibly better outcomes for our students. We have had a marked reduction in missed graduation opportunities. We have had a marked increase in the amount of certificates that students are able to complete. And this really stems from a fantastic working relationship that we have with Career Services and our advisors. They are doing an outstanding job. They are leading to better outcomes for us, and we hope to continuously leverage this so that we can get even better outcomes for our students. As always, we seek to further align with our industry partners, and we are looking to do so with a stronger and more rigorous advisory committee structure. Historically, we have used the advisory committee to help regulate our courses, to help regulate our degrees and certifications, what we would call things, how they will align. We are looking to deepen that relationship, leveraging things like Zoom, so that we can increase some of the frequency of our meetings over the course of a year, so that we can really take a look at textbooks and platforms and things that we have really struggled to be able to do with our advisory committee in the past. We're looking to rectify that and to get a more reciprocal relationship with them here. So those are opportunities we are expanding with the advisory committee in the future. As always, we also seek to better our pipelines and expand our relationships with area high schools. This semester in spring of 22, we are expanding our offering of Web 101. That is our introduction to programming for the internet. That is expanding into our relationships with Meridian and Belvedere, etc. This is hopefully going to lead to an increased pipeline for our web students. Moving on to action items. Number one, we're looking to increase offerings of both in-person courses as students return to the classroom. And number two, increase online offerings as students have acclimated to learning remotely. This can be seen with our very, very popular Web 101 course. We are moving that to primarily be an online course because that is really where students are clamoring for that course to be offered. In the in-person side of things, we're actually moving a digital photography course offline, so into the classroom, because that's where students like the hands-on approach to courses like that. So we're looking to readdress how students are looking for us to offer courses, because these last 2 years have really changed at the very core what students are looking for in the way of course offerings. So we are changing those to meet those needs. Moving on to enhancing our dual and articulated credit pathways, again, to increase our pipeline for web students coming from our traditional high school pathways. And finally, a continued exploration of new and emerging technologies like hosting platforms and big data dashboards. More and more web design now is not being done by people who are setting up their own servers, etc. They are moving to hosting platforms. So we are expanding our hosting platform course offerings in the future, looking at Bootstrap and WordPress and things like that, so that students are capable of rapidly developing a web page for a company. Next, moving to big data dashboards, we are seeing this shift in CIS and web to big data. So on the CIS side of things, we work at using databases to go through big data so that we can make better decisions. Here in the web program, we take those big data queries and we transform them into infographics and dashboards that users can easily understand. So the big data dashboard is something that we're looking at including at least through some of our upper level web courses. Finally, questions. We've got under the video listed here, we've got our social media platforms. You can direct message us there, and we also have the email address there. We are absolutely looking forward to answering any questions that you might have.